was finding out whether or not the customers were engaged with the website. He and his team had to create a way for people to make transactions even if they didn't have a credit card. And that moment was the creation of Alipay. Now, Alipay is one of the most profitable businesses in the world. It's transforming the financial services industry as we know it. And you think of Mercado Pago in a similar light, invented at Mercado Libre for the same reason, that there were not enough credit cards. And so in the same year that Meg Whitman at eBay declared that eBay would conquer China, Jack Ma and his team were creating Alipay. They weren't making money yet, but once the customer engagement was complete, they began to iterate on monetization, which was the next step. So we don't always monetize at first. Sometimes you create engagement and then figure out ways of monetizing. Now, the problem with not monetizing right away, most people misunderstand. They say, oh, Barnett's saying that free is a business model. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that free is a problem, but not for the reason you think. Okay, you think that a business that begins without following the money is not going to make revenue, and that's a problem. Yes, not making revenue is a problem, but the bigger problem comes back to information. When people buy your product or service for free, there's no information in that transaction. You have no idea whether they value it. If you tell me I can have something for free and I say I accept, that has no meaning. Because if you tell me that I have to pay for something and I'm willing to do that, that's a market signal. So the problem with free in the early part of a business where we're gathering information is that it has no information. So what Jack Ma had put in place at Taobao was a team of people who were monitoring engagement to gather information so that they could figure out what it was that the Chinese people needed in order to migrate from their little shops in Shanghai to an online marketplace. And once they figured it out, then they could monetize it. And you can now hear the money rolling in. Now, many of the retrospective rationalizations say that Jack Ma was following the money. I was just getting together with Jack. We're doing a new case on Ali Cloud. And it's hard to meet with Jack now because he's like a god there. Since official religion became unpopular, they replace it with other things. So, you know, you go through all the layers and then you get to his kind of Zen garden in the middle of this entire, you know, it's Hangzhou, it's now Ali Land, and it's bigger than, you know, I think America is like a middle-sized Chinese city, right? You know, so I mean, everything's so vast. It's like a Star Wars film or something. So we get to his little garden and he's got all his acolytes kneeling and we're talking and he says, I remember when in the beginning, when you knew I was right. And I said, there's no way. I didn't think you were right. And you could see his acolytes saying, oh my God, they're going to behead him now, right? And I said, there's no way I thought you were right. Nobody thought you were right. We thought you were crazy. That's why you were interesting. That's why I wrote the case study about you. It's the first case study you read when you come to the Stanford Business School. It's the Taobao versus eBay China case, right? And he smiled because he knew I knew he wasn't right. Like we knew this. And so that was the same thing that got them to go into the cloud. They weren't following the money when they went into the cloud. They were experimenting in a non-consensus and right. And that'll be the new world for China is Ali Cloud. So thank you for asking. That was a great invitation. Yeah, give me a follow-up, man.
Just to add, what also came on my mind is that you can't really feel that you achieved something innovative or disruptive until you feel the cash flow. So Alibaba probably and Jack Ma so that he made some unique payment system in China only when it's really started to monetize.
Well, yeah, I love this guy. Look, I gotta say, Max, if I was here in Kiev, I don't know whether you're gonna change the world, but this guy's gonna get rich, okay? That's all I can say is this guy, you're looking for anyway. Well, I can say, in the Venn diagram of life, right, there's a set of things that are disruptive and there are a set of things that make money. Not all things that make money are disruptive, and not all things that are disruptive make money. And it's nice when they intersect. So.
Thank you so much. Yeah, please. And I think this is one of the last questions.
Hi, William. I'm Alex. I'm a founder of local tech startup. Thanks for your talk. It was very structured and inspiring. I have a question about innovations that are very successful on the market, but prove themselves to be harmful to individual consumers or like society as a whole. So should we try to prevent them and regulate them entering the market in the first place, or should we just let any type of innovation enter the market and let society figure it out?
Wow, that's a great question. Let me just pause before I want the best possible answer for what is the best possible question. There's a very deep question involved here, right? About the degree to which our values and our ethics and our morality should be expressed through political institutions that somehow regulate what we're allowed to do in technology. And for techies, remember I told you I know a techie when I see one. This would be an example, for example. No, I just know. So for techies, there has long been a vision or a dream that self-organization, think Linux, think Wiki, that self-organization allows for a wisdom of the crowds where the good outweighs the bad in a populist battle. And there has long been a division in the philosophy of how we organize technology between inclusionists and exclusionists. So the inclusionists are those who say, let everyone get on Wikipedia. The exclusionists say, oh no, we need editors to make sure that there are no falsehoods put there. I remember giving a talk to a group of book publishers on disruption. I mean, you have to see the humor in this, right? A group of book publishers wanted to have me speak to them about disruption. Like, please tell us what is happening to us. So I really didn't know what to say, so I just put Wikipedia up on the projector. And they began to shout. And I remember the publisher of the Danish Encyclopedia raised his hand. He was there. And, there has to be one, I guess, for every language. So he said, this is not, he objected. He was an exclusionist. He said, no, you need to have editorial oversight. And I said to him, well, where are you from? I'm from Odense. You've been to Odense, it's a wonderful city. There's a university there. I remember going to speak there. The birthplace of Hans Christian Andersen, among other things. Very charming, very diverse city, actually. People from all over the world there, great food, not as good as Kiev, but. So I said, oh, well, and I pulled up the Wikipedia page on Odense. And we began to read it together. And he said, see, there's a mistake. And I said, well, let's correct it. And we began to correct. That made him very upset, right? So you can see where I'm going with this story. The exclusionists always feel that they somehow have a sense for what's correct. The inclusionists have a deep philosophical sense that the wisdom of the crowd will win out. I tend to be an inclusionist, But I am also sober, and I understand that cynicism, involvement of governments in trying to make us doubt what it is that we do as democracies and what we read in the free press, that the governments benefit from cynicism, and they benefit from sowing doubt in our minds about the veracity of attempts by people like yourself to change the world through technology. And I think the way we battle cynicism is to battle corruption and stand for what is right in the day-to-day activities we do as technologists. We will never win completely against the forces that generate cynicism. It is an ongoing battle. And as long as merit is favored over privilege, we have a fighting chance. I remember sitting in a cafe in Moscow with an entrepreneur who I quite admire. I'm not going to say his name, basically because of what I'm about to say about our conversation. And a fancy car drove up right outside of the cafe. When I looked at it, I thought, oh, this must be an entrepreneur, because I'm from Silicon Valley. And every time you see an awesome car, you think some awesome company did something that really engaged the customers and followed the money. The guy across the table looked over and said, oh, I wonder who he robbed. And if that cynicism wins out, we've lost.
Thank you so much. And the closing question. So, about leadership. Yeah? So, what modern leaders of Ukraine, actually people who present now in this room, represent this auditory, have to be prepared for, their mind and behaviors changes prior they step into the journey of innovations, disruptive innovations, with their organizations they are leading. Small appendix to this question, what signs can they observe outside can lead them or make them think, oh, this is the time to start be prepared to change?
Right. Well, thank you for that stated question. I'll start with the appendix to your question, and I'll say you never will feel that the time is right. As Shakespeare once put it, sometimes greatness is thrust upon you. And so don't wait until the time is right. Because the time will never feel right. If you are uncomfortable accepting the challenge, that means the time is right. Mm-hmm. In terms of preparation, I would urge you to see leadership not as a reward that gives you privileges because of things you've done in the past. Unfortunately, that's how most people see leadership opportunities. They say, yes, of course, I am entitled to privilege as a reward for what I have done in the past. I disagree with that. Leadership is an honor. It is an honor that then requires that you live up to the duty of the leadership position. So when you take a leadership position, you have been honored by those around you. And you are therefore challenged to live up to the duty of that office, which is not a privilege, but it is a great burden that you must live up to. And if you see every leadership position you ever take as an honorable challenge, you will live up to that duty. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now this is time for the auditory to share your thoughts among yourself. And once again, thank you both.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Хочешь, да? Чем? Просто не знаю, чем.
You know, I would have to say that it depends, right? Because of different parts of the world and different ways of life and so forth. I'm consistently impressed by Scott Cook, the guy who created Intuit. But mostly because of his humility, right? And so it's almost because he doesn't think he can predict that he tends to say things I think that are very, you know, I hate to say that he has no humility. He has no humility, right? He's the opposite. Yes, that's right. Okay, once he became a billionaire, he could have just gone to the beach, right? But instead he decided to change the way he billionaire, you know, and I think that's yeah, so I came on Monday and then I spoke at Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I gotta come back, right? Well, I don't have very much time, so I probably won't.